Hi, welcome to Medmadness. In this video, we are going to see how the blood pressure is being regulated in the body. The first defense is a baroreceptor. We'll see this in a separate section. The second defense is the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. Before going to the section, we are going to deal with the histology. And Medmadness always want you to study the histology first to get very good visualization. I want you to focus in the distal convoluted tubule of the nephron. There is a straight section in the DCT and a convoluted section in the DCT. In between these sections, some part of DCT comes in contact with the glomerulus. And we are going to really focus on here because here we have the juxtaglomerular apparatus, JG apparatus. In this region of distal convoluted tubule, we have tall columnar cells. In other part of the nephron, we have only cuboidal cells. What is the importance of this? We will see it in my hand drawing. So this is the juxtaglomerular apparatus, and here we are seeing some green cells, right? This is the macula densa. And this is the convoluted tubule. Here you can see the cuboidal cells. Here there are some connective tissues, and these are the JG cells, that is renin secreting cells. And this is the efferent arteriole. This is the efferent arteriole. Here the glomerulus is there. Fine. Now, one important question. When is the renin secreted into the blood? There are really three stimulus for this. Number one, the JG cells acts like a baroreceptors. The JG cells are nothing but the modified smooth muscle cells of the efferent arteriole. So, when the blood pressure is decreased, these baroreceptor senses it and renin is released into the circulation. Number 2, we have beta 1 receptor in the JG cells. What is the importance of it? When there is low blood pressure, the sympathetic system is activated. So, the beta 1 receptors are stimulated, resulting in renin secretion. Number 3, coming on to the macula densa cells. When there is low blood pressure, most of the sodium is reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. So, the macula densa cell senses these low sodium in the DCT. Now, the macula densa cells stimulates the JG cells to secrete renin into the circulation. So, we have seen three main stimulus for the renin secretion. 1. The JG cells acts itself as a baroreceptor. Number 2, beta 1 receptors. Number 3, macula densa cells. I hope now you are very clear about this JG apparatus. Let's follow the renin enzyme now. The renin is secreted into the circulation system. It acts on angiotensinogen. This is released from the liver. So renin acts on the angiotensinogen and converts them into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin converting enzyme acts on the angiotensin 1 and converts it into angiotensin 2. So the angiotensin converting enzyme breaks down the bradykinin, which is one of the vasodilator substance in the blood. So resulting in vasoconstriction. Now let's see the action of angiotensin 2. The first important action of angiotensin 2 is it acts on the V1 receptors on the blood vessels and results in vasoconstriction. Remember, angiotensin 2 is one of a powerful vasoconstrictor of a human body. Number 2, it acts on the efferent arteriole and constricts it. You can say like preferential constriction of efferent arteriole when compared to efferent arteriole, so that it increases the pressure in the glomerulus, maintaining the GFR. Now, angiotensin 2 acts directly on the kidney or indirectly on the kidney to reabsorb more sodium and water. It acts directly on the PCT cells. It acts on the adrenal cortex, releasing aldosterone into the blood. It also acts on the hypothalamus and stimulates the thirst center. Also, it acts on the supraoptic nucleus of a posterior pituitary, releasing antidiuretic hormone. We are going to see these hormone actions on the nephron. Now, there are two types of cells present in the collecting tubule. One is the intercalated cell, the other is a principal cell. The intercalated cells are also present in the distal convoluted tubule. Also, we'll take a cell from the PCT. Now we are going to see about angiotensin 2 action on the proximal convoluted tubule. We have seen about this cell in the previous acid-base balance video. What you really want to focus is here in this pump. This is sodium hydrogen ions antipode. So when this pump is stimulated by the angiotensin 2, increased amount of sodium and water is reabsorbed into the circulation, maintaining the BP. One more additional point in this cell. The hydrogen ions is secreted into the lumen and bicarb is reabsorbed in the blood. So resulting in alkalosis. This is called contraction alkalosis. Why? Because this alkalosis happens in response to low blood pressure. One more additional point about the alpha intercalated cells. Now the aldosterone acts on this pump hydrogen ion ATPase. So there is increased secretion of hydrogen ions into the urine. And this cell is the most important cell for the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. The two hormones, aldosterone and ADH, antidiuretic hormone. Let's see their action on this cell. Aldosterone increases the sodium potassium pump on this side, keeping the sodium concentration and low and high potassium concentration inside the cell. This hormone also increases the channels, the potassium channels and the sodium channels. So what happens here? The potassium is secreted out of the cell and sodium is reabsorbed followed by water. So to say in short, aldosterone increases sodium and water reabsorption and increases potassium secretion. One additional point about the aldosterone signaling mechanism. Since this is a steroid hormone, that is a lipid, it crosses the cell membrane and binds with the receptors in the cytoplasm, activating the genes resulting in mRNA production. Now the ribosomes comes and attach to this mRNA and produces proteins. What is that protein? The sodium potassium pump and potassium and sodium pump here in the luminal side. Now moving on to ADH. ADH is a protein hormone, so it cannot go inside the cell. It acts on the G protein coupled receptors, increasing the cyclic AMP. Now what happens? We have some water channels inside the cells. This get energized by the increased cyclic AMP and water channels are incorporated into the luminal side. So increased amount of water is reabsorbed. So what happens in the principal cells? Increased amount of sodium and water reabsorption that maintains the blood pressure. Now you should be very clear about this system. Now let's summarize. What is the direct action of angiotensin 2? It directly acts on the V1 receptors of blood vessels, resulting in vasoconstriction. It acts on the efferent arteriole preferentially, maintains the GFR. It acts on the PCT cell, increases sodium water reabsorption. So what is the indirect action? It acts on the cortex of adrenal gland, resulting in aldosterone production. So this aldosterone increases water and sodium reabsorption and increases potassium secretion. Number 2, the release of ADH hormone, and this hormone acts on the principal cell to increase water reabsorption. So what you understood from this? This whole system is activated in response to low blood pressure, which causes vasoconstriction and increased sodium and water reabsorption and maintains our blood pressure. Thank you. In case you have any doubts or topic suggestion, leave it in the comment section below. See you next video. All the best.